So I'm going to turn to Tae, just as a heads up maybe to Catherine and to Karen. If you can think a little bit about, Manuel raised two issues that interested me. One is incentives versus regulation, right? So he was clearly arguing incentives, particularly for private sector actors. Incentives tend to be more effective, right, than regulation, even despite being a lawyer. So just if you think, I'm going to come back to you, if you two, you can think a little bit about that. What incentives do you think drive you most and we should focus on in enhancing and aligning with nature positive? The second thing to think about a little bit is low-hanging fruit. So NCS versus NBS, I think he laid that out pretty well. What do you really think of points of low-hanging fruit from a corporate perspective? So, Tae, from your perspective, you're a startup, and you are focused. Well, another thing Manuel said that I think was very well put was, climate is about a lot of the drivers, and nature positive. This discussion sort of net zero is drivers, and nature positive is consequences. Obviously, one of the major drivers is pollution, as Manuel stated, and the other thing he talked a little bit about as well, what are the different ideas in terms of how we can also harness nature? I guess we haven't really even gotten to that point in many ways. Can you talk a bit about what you're doing, how you're trying to harness nature, and what specific problem in terms of pollution you're trying to resolve and address? Because you're a startup, we're here in Korea, you're a Korean company, and growing rapidly and trying to make a difference.
Right. Thank you, Edward. Well, before I go ahead, as Ed just mentioned, we're a startup, and I'm sitting here among the whales, and even though our company name has a whale, and it's green whale. But by the way, there's a purpose of that. Our company name is Green Whale. When I actually made this company in the beginning, we're thinking, my friends and partners, we're sitting down and we're thinking how to name our company, and one of the idea was. And back in, I'm not sure if you guys remember, or any of you guys remember this, but in 2019 there was a picture, a big whale, white whale I think it was, laying in beach of Philippines with a mouthful of plastic waste. And that picture was really, had a really strong impact to me. So, it's like that picture, it was relayed to me and wanted to put a word whale, and then we're doing, of course, the very friendly business. So Green Whale is the name that I came up with. And in other words, back in the days when I was very young, we were talking about the ozone problem, also like suddenly, rapidly. But then again, when I remember reading an article saying that the ozone issue was not on the table until the satellite actually took the picture of the Earth, proving that there was actually a hole there, and then it became a very big agenda. So that's why we named our company as a Green Whale. And then the Green Whale is a small company. However, we're talking about nature positive, But then again, as a small company, as a startup, I think it's important to do nature impact. But then again, we need to focus, what we can do precisely because we have limited resources. And then after the impact, we have a plan and set up and strategy, and then we could set up perhaps nature commitment. So one of the things that we have focused is the microplastic. And microplastic is actually really hurting already. It's already in our food cycle. It's not something that it's a theoretical or it will be. It's already on the table, and it's really happening right now. It's in our food chain. So this is something that we want you to really take care, and also the pollution at the same time. So we have studied and discussed and what to do, and we finally, we're doing the bioplastic, resin, and I'm not sure how many of you guys are aware of, what kind of bioplastics are made of. There are a couple raw materials called PLA and PPAT, and PLA is made from corn or sugarcane, where PBAT is still a petroleum, based, but it's biodegrades. But then again, the price of PLA and PBAT are actually a little bit high, or more expensive than conventional plastic. So what we did is that we studied, and we have a technology to compound it with the cassava starch. And cassava is crops that actually takes very little water, and it grows pretty much everywhere in the world. Like, and study shows that it only takes 0.05 hectare to produce 1 ton of cassava, and it only needs 400 cubic meter of water, where compared to in corn it takes about 0.19 hectare to produce 1 ton. At the same time, 900 cubic meter of water is used. So cassava is actually very high yield with a very little water consumption. Sorry, and that's why we focused on cassava, and we are making our bioplastic resin with the cassava modification and compound to expand and substitute some of the plastics that we're using in this world. And one of the things that I like to emphasize is that in Korea itself right now, they say that Korea is one of the top country who are known for recycling. But then again, when the statistic comes out, it only counts from the collection point where they collect it, and then they try to see how much percentile are recycled from that point. But then again, I argue and I challenge that point, because it actually should start from the where it's produced. So if we bring the counting part to the production field, in Korea itself, and about 15% is mismanaged or leakage to the nature. So like study doesn't say, that portion that it's actually thrown out to the wildlife, but they're saying 85% is collected, and then from 85% we have a very high rate of recycle. And I think that's kind of greenwashing. But anyway, the worldwide is 22% is mismanaged. So basically, what we're focusing, and what we decided to do is that we're focusing on the leakage part and mismanagement part, where actually it is doing the harm to the nature, rather than the collective or recycled, plastics that is counted and it's already well managed. It could be incinerated for new power. It could go to the landfill, etc. But then again, we're really focusing on that mismanagement part. That mismanagement part is the one that is creating the microplastic and everything. And lastly, that I'd like to say is, I came from the financial background. I was private equity fund manager before and everything. And this business and this opportunity came to me as an investor in the beginning. But then again, when the opportunity came, and when I met with my current CTO and everybody, I really felt like I should really join, as a team rather than just an investor at the time. And interesting thing is, my company has been only a little over 3 years, and as more I participate and learn about this business and things that we can do more, I really feel like it's becoming my duty, and almost like it's obligation that I should do really something nature positive, and also do something to change good to the world. So that's our mission. I strongly believe it, and I stand behind of my statement.
Thanks, Dave.